Hey guys, welcome back to another video on the Inside Special. Happy Wednesday afternoon. I hope we're all okay. Hope we're all right. Hope the day is treating you as well as it possibly can do. In this video, though, we're talking obviously the man on the thumbnail himself, Mr. Oliver Skipp, to Leicester and the situation in that realm. We've got a little bit of an update on Desiree Doué's valuation. We've got some quotes from Ange about pre-season and so forth. We've also got a bit of a chat about tonight's game against Hearts. So plenty to talk about, plenty to get into. Just want to say that if you're watching this and you are new, subscribe. You're very much welcome to join us for the journey. And yes, please join me this evening about 6:45 tonight, where we're going to be doing the watch along for the preseason game against Hearts. Obviously, 7 o'clock kickoff UK time, but we'll be live sort of 10-15 minutes ahead of that, sort of to analyze the teams, have a bit of a chat, and just watch the game in a bit of peace and quiet with one another, you know? So please join me for that. Excuse me. The some fruit squash has gone down the wrong way. So, yes, plenty to talk about. Morning, Dan. How are you, mate? Surely selling Skipp would make it tougher on us for the academy trained players. Well, in theory, yes. But we'll talk about that in just a moment. Afternoon now, Spurs. How are you, mate? You all right? Juddy, how are you? You okay? Afternoon, Robert. How are you? You all right, mate? Kamagoo's here. Hey, mate. How are you, Kamagoo? You all right? So yeah, really good stuff. Well, let's start with the Skippy news, which actually I've got more than we think. I've actually got some stuff on Gallagher, some Emerson Royale stuff. Yeah, got some other stuff. Sorry, it's on my phone. Apologies. How terrible of me, I know. That's not even on my phone. How useless of me. That's bloody useless of me. I'll find it anyway. But yes, sorry. Really sorry about this one. But Oliver Skipp. So in the situation of Oliver Skipp, there's a guy that potentially may want to move on for first team football. I think expected that Spurs may look to actually accept the bid for him. But basically, Peter O'Rourke said that Leicester City are plotting a move for the Spurs midfielder, Oliver Skipp. So I was thinking about this in a bit more detail when it came to Oliver Skipp. And I think, to be honest, I can understand why we may move him on. I think we're going to see through Lucas Bergvall, we're going to see through Archie Gray, maybe a Tyrese Hall, whoever it may be in the midfield, at least one of them being maybe academy trained, that we sit there and go, actually, his sporadic minutes would be better suited to someone who's 18 or 19. Because I think Skippy, he can improve a bit more, but I don't think that deal is true. I don't think he's truly going to get that much better. But with like a Tyrese Hall, the room to grow is very much there, So yeah, we'll be talking about sort of hopefully more this evening when we do the watch along about the guys who are playing, and hopefully someone stands out, because actually if that is the case, then you could move on from Oliver Skipp and it not be a concern with academy trained players through Europe or homegrown players at all for that matter. It would be a lovely position to have, because then you could cash in on Oliver Skipp. Now, when we talk about the value that you may think with Skippy, minimum 15 million. That's the way I look at this. You think when you think of English players, the English tax is a real thing. It's about 10-15 million already. So you got to think at least 15 million, maybe even 20 million. I think it'd be a really good pickup for Leicester. They'd have a midfield of Winks and Skipp, which is what my nightmares were made of a few years ago. But it'd be good for Leicester. And this is what I talked about with like players like Ben Davies. When you've got teams coming up, they want to look at, rotational sporadic pieces from the top teams who are going to who are good enough to be Premier League players. Oliver Skipp is that. Obviously, we know Leeds have been quite keen on him, but again, it's like, will he want to drop down a league when maybe he might be able to get a Prem team, Hey, Les, mate, you all right? Hey, Donny, you okay? No, you don't, but stick it to the football, if you know what I mean. Hey, Martin, how are you? All right? Adventurous, how are you, mate? You okay? Hello, everyone. Are we doing a watch long for Hearts Day? Kieran, we are. Alez even answered for me. Alez, absolute legend of the chat, as we all know. Yes, we are doing a watch long. It's about 6:45, 6:50 this evening, somewhere in that realm. We're going to do a watch long, bit more of a chilled one, okay? We're not going to be sitting here, chastising players for a misplaced pass. It'd be more about getting fitness into the legs and hopefully seeing a few nice things, if you know what I mean. Thoughts on Euro to United? It's a lot of money for an 18-year-old. It's a lot of money. What is it, 60 odd million? It's a lot of money. Obviously, one of the most talented centre back in terms of his youth in the world. So it's exciting for that. But I hope for his sake, Man United fans can give him time. It's the same thing where I think with Spurs and Archie Gray. Can we just be good enough to allow him time to grow? Excuse me. Andy, you just said my two favourite words, Gallagher and Emerson. Oh, no, I'm sorry, mate. Hey, Percival, how are you? Whilst I don't think Skipp is good enough, him leaving puts us in a real difficult situation with homegrown quota. Well, that's what I think with this pre-season. Hopefully we'll see one or two players that we sit there and go, actually, they'll be really needed. And they're actually good enough to play sporadic minutes for Spurs already, you know? After Andy, also Devine is getting to the age where he should be mature enough to play in the Prem. Depends on who is better, Skipp or Devine. Well, Devine had a really good loan spell at Port Vale the first half of last season. Unfortunately, struggled the second half of the season in the Championship, but that was, I think, a lot of it down to the peculiar, interesting decisions made by the Plymouth board. And I say that not to be rude, basically, if you know what I mean. Oh my God, he said it. I'm a legend. Thoughts on Romero and Gio being on the bus? Could there be fines and suspensions? They weren't involved in it. You could see Romero was in the back, not singing along, wasn't involved in it. But yes, Les, mate, you are a legend. You're also, I mean, you follow me on Twitter as well, so you've got to be a bit of a legend to be doing both of those things. But yes, if you want to know, social media handles in the description below. Follow us. I'm trying to get a little bit more active on Twitter at the moment. I don't really tweet that much because I think people on Twitter are idiots, but I'm trying to get better. Skip to Southampton makes sense. Well, skip to anyone in those teams coming up does make a ton of sense. He's more than good enough to play in the Premier League, in my opinion. Also, how are you, mate? You all right? Well, Divine's going to be getting time with Ange in this preseason. So that's the key thing here. Let's talk about Ange himself talking. He said, this is from Spurs Play, so the I guess you call it an app, web page, or whatever you want to call it that Spurs run. He said, from a coaching perspective, we've all come back with a real determination to build on what we started last year. We lost our way towards the end of the last season. I felt with that, it's about learning from it. But overall, there's enough good stuff for us to have a good platform to push on. Well, you think of it like this, and he's got more quotes, but just sort of break those quotes down. And you've got a situation here where you've got another pre-season with this team who, let's be really fair. They had the Harry Kane debacle of that situation being an absolute mess of a situation. Is he staying? Is he going? Oh, no, he's definitely staying. No, he's definitely going, you know, and that was right before the start of the season. You know, players like Heung-Min, Son having to step up. James Maddison, who just come in having to step up. You know, a lot of players having to step up that maybe probably could have done with having a few months of bedding into the club. They'll be better for this next season. I think, you know, when you look at Mickey Van der Ven, Destiny Udogie, Vicario, you know, of Brennan Johnson as well, you could say, you know, those sort of first teamers who are getting another preseason and more time to develop into better Premier League players. It's also the situation where we have brought in a whole new system under Ange that it does need time to implement. It does need time for it to work. And, you know, we saw it at times. It did work. We saw at times where it was a bit more ropey. And that was first season struggles. We all talked about it. We all expected it. Some people chose to forget about that and just complain. But this season, I think with this preseason, the new players coming in, which we want to talk about in a minute, it's important to allow the key members another year with Ange, and then you sort of add to it, if you know what I mean. What I meant is we could get rid of Skippy and have Devine as the well, yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying, Dean. With the preseason, we'll see one or two players who are really solid players who are academy trained youngsters who probably will get pushed into sporadic minutes, you know. I've trained at the time of the match. I want to watch it from the start later. Where can I watch it other than Spurs Play? It's only on Spurs Play. You won't be able to watch it from the start if you're not, mate, unfortunately. But they'll put out the highlights maybe or something like that. I'm not too sure. Exciting that we could see Gray, Sarr, Bergvall and Moore all playing together tonight. Well, I expect Well, we'll talk about that game in a bit, Martin, but I expect to see a lot of those sort of players. If we sell Kulu, we can put the money into further funding for more than just one attacker or making Eze deal less stressful. There is that. I see Napoli are... Who is it? That's all Napoli were signing. They're signing someone else, but they're also looking to move on from Leo Ostegard, the centre-back. Apparently, Conte's not too keen. Also, by the way, a little bit of PTSD for us all. Conte apparently put them through 5 to 6 hours of fitness work yesterday. They have no idea what's to come. Kane's situation, a mess. Ha ha ha. Kane's situation was a complete SH1T show. Well, it was, but obviously I can't swear just in case of demonetization. But yeah, it was a nightmare. Should decided to leave sooner rather than like 40 hours. I don't think it was on Kane. I think Kane was wanting the Bayern move, but then Kane said, "Look, if I'm not going to get it, I'll happily stay." It was more on the two clubs, and I think Levy was one that was changing the deal quite frequently. Who will start the back line today? Well, you'll see Porro and Emerson. They'll feature. I expect 45 minutes each. You'll see Phillips feature. You'll see Davies, Donnelly featured at left back in the last game, and mostly just youth players at the back for today's game. Yeah. So that was that on the first bit about the quotes. He then talked about Archie Gray. He said he was outstanding last year, probably the most outstanding young player in the Championship, which is not an easy league, we know. I was super pleased that the club were able to do the deal in the end. He's a great kid, super young player, and has a great attitude. He's 18, right? It doesn't feel like he's 18. And this means in a good way. It feels like he's 21, 22. He's like Pape's age. Feels like he's been around for a little while. Ange seems to be a proper Archie Gray fan. So I think that's a little bit of good news. Obviously, we talked about how he felt about Lucas Bergvall as well. Moving on about the preseason, he said for us, it's a valuable time where we can embed our principles, how we want to play. All this is here for the players. I really want the players to come back and see we haven't stood still. We are constantly moving forward. That last bit made me happy. We're constantly moving forward. I loved it personally. Obviously, transfer-wise, we haven't really moved forward all that much. No, sorry, let me rephrase that. Transfers in-wise, it doesn't feel like we moved that far forward. Transfers out-wise, I feel like we have moved forward and we've made a good, solid, improvement in that realm. You're moving on Tanganga, moving on Sessegnon. Obviously we know about Dyer, Lloris, and Perisic have gone previous to January, but two of them considered moves this summer. Moving on from Troy Parrott, moving on from Ndombele. That's 6 players. Wait, Tanganga, Sessegnon, Parrott, Ndombele, 7 players in theory. But you've still got players. You've still got a lot more work to do there. Emerson has interest. We're going to talk about him in a minute. So that's another one. Let's see what happens with Brian Hill. Let's see what Manor Solomon. Manor Solomon should feature today as well. So we'll see Manor back. Just trying to think of who else. Skippy may move on. You still got Højbjerg. What happens with Giovanni Lo Celso? There's a plenty. Janice, thank you. Joe Rodon, that was the other one. I was trying to think there was another player that moved on. Joe Rodon being that other one. You still got Spence. You still got Regulon. There's so many players still to move on. So as they've made a good start and we're basically halfway through July, there's still a lot more work to do. So I expect, in theory, from next week onwards, 1 a week to go out, hopefully, because then that would leave you 6-7 weeks, and we still need to move on from about 6-7 players. So hopefully 1 a week would be ideal. It doesn't obviously have to be 1 a week. It could be averaged out like 1 a week, but you might have 2 or 3 that move in a week, Kulu do great for Napoli. I think it's a good deal for everyone if it happens. Well, I think so as well. We know that you can do the Conte system. We know he can do it in Italy. Hey, Daniel, how are you? Donny at left back. What, isn't he a centre forward or something? Well, he played a little bit of left back and apparently he did very well there, but it was against a League One opposition. So there is that. Overall, Andy, how do you think the window's going? Personally happy with the outgoings, still nervous about the incomings. Dean, I think that is a fair way to sum it up. I think the outgoings have been solid so far. I've been impressed with the attitude towards moving on from Sessegnon, Tanganga, and Ndombele, and saying, look, we're not going to try and make a few quid out of it. We're just going to move them on and cut bait. I like that attitude. You know, we've taken a lot of money off the wages with a lot of players being let go. But in terms of the incomings, you can't sit here and say it's been great, have you? You know, selling Kula and or Richie is bonkers in my opinion. We need to be building a massive team with a multi-pronged strike force. Selling either one of those players forces us to buy 2 replacements each. Well, I mean, it's not a bad thing if you're an excited person around transfers in, but I get the feeling on that, Robert. Reguilon's played today. Maybe Skipp and Emerson at centre back. What about Ben Davies? Reguilon supposedly won't feature. Apparently, the idea is that Ange has no interest in him, which I actually really like that attitude. I'm not interested in seeing Reguilon for this team. The man was twerking for Man United, posting stupid stuff on his story about things like that. He's a really average defender. Lots of energy going forward, and his link-up plays all right, but average is a nice way to sum up his defending. Quicker we move on, the better. And that's my attitude. And I'm normally quite fair and positive. Sometimes you got to throw down the hammer. Gio will stay at Spurs. I don't see him going. If he did go, I think he would be gone. Well, he played at the Euros, Juddy. Not Euros, the Copper. Gallagher's name cropping up again. Yeah, we'll talk about him in a second. Let's talk about Desiree Doué first. And I want to talk about this fee. So they're apparently Stade Rennes are demanding 60 million euros plus add-on. So you could be looking at a deal here of a player worth 60 million pounds plus. And everyone was like, well, no, get him over Eze because he'll be cheaper. I don't think he'll be cheaper anymore. I really don't. I think Bayern and PSG, not intentionally, but I think they've driven up the price because Rennes have looked at it and gone, well, every team that want him has money to spend. They have money to burn. All right, well, we'll just raise the price. I don't see Desiree Doué at Spurs, by the way. If you do think if anyone does think he'll be at Spurs, let me know, but I don't see it anymore. The price of the deal has gone way up. The fact he's more expensive than Neto says a lot, to be honest. The fact he's more expensive than, Gallagher's, the fact he's the same price as Eze, he's cheaper than Tony and he's more expensive than Jimenez and Tony, and he's actually probably the same sort of price as a Solanke. That's a lot of money. And as much as, yes, he's exciting and there's a lot of talent there, I'll take Eze. That's the guy that I truly want if we're going to spend that kind of money on a player. That's an attacking player. But I'd much rather, do you know how I look at it? I'd much rather get a backup left back and Neto. That's the way I'm going to look at it, because it'll be the same sort of price. And actually, we'd be better off for it. Yes, maybe Neto isn't the most robust when it comes to his injury front, but also we're going to spend nearly 70 million euros on this player. It's a big gamble. And Man United have taken a big gamble on Lenny Euro, but that's their gamble. It's not my gamble. It's not our club gamble, If we get Doué over Eze, you won't be a happy boy. Well, there you go. Eze, Tony, Chiesa, Neto. Well, look, that's another thing. You get Chiesa and 2 fullbacks for the same price as Desiree Doué. And I'm not talking about 2 fullbacks that are like proper average and they're not going to really help us. They're just fillers. I mean, genuine 2 decent fullbacks. You can get a Patrick Dorgu or a Bradley Locko, for example, or get another right back on the right-hand side as well. And it will work out to being a similar sort of price. Maybe it would work out to being about 75 million euros, but it's not that much more, if you know what I mean. Can't wait for the match today. Well, Kamagoo, 6:45. Join me. We'll talk about it together. Indeed, 21 million for Chiesa lets us get Tony and an Eze. David, Chiesa, Eze, and a left back. You see what I mean? As much as Desiree Doué is a really exciting player, and I get he could potentially be an absolute rock star in football. I don't want to throw this season away with going, yeah, but we got Archie Graham, we got Bergvall, we got Desiree Doué, and they're really exciting players. But we do need probably 3 players that are going to truly impact the first team this season. Yes, you've got exciting players in this team who I think will get better next year, like a Bentancur. I think Johnson will get better. I think Adogi will get better. Van der Ven's going to get better. Romero's obviously world-class. Vicaro's going to get better. Porro will be better. I also want players to come in now and go, yeah, but look, he will force this player to take this next step. This guy is the same sort of level as this guy. I want someone to give Maddison a run for his money. Can you imagine Maddison having to sit on the bench every now and then because this guy's playing so well? That's what we want, you know? Eze should be priority. Forget about Gallagher. Well, we're going to talk about Gallagher in a second. One thing I would say is a few of you have gone, no, get Eze over Gallagher. Two very different players. That's why we're linked to both. Anyway, moving on. Let's talk about the report. So there's some good stuff and bad stuff in this report from Ben Jacobs, and just bear with me. So it says that Tottenham Hotspur boss Ange Postecoglou is looking to bring in a minimum of 3 senior signings between now and the end of the window. Minimum, I'd expect. That is the bare minimum, is probably how I would have summed it up. I would want at least 4 players coming in. A bid for Chelsea midfielder Conor Gallagher is still expected. Spurs haven't moved yet since the England internationals camp made it clear they didn't want any Euro 2024 distractions. Although his current employers, Chelsea, are open to a sell, they want in excess of 50 million. So they want something similar to what they got for Mason Mount from Manchester United. So it goes on to say this same stage last year, Spurs valued Gallagher at 35 million. It's understood they have no plans to go far north of this. The 40 million they paid to Leicester City for James Maddison last summer is a similar price they hope to land Gallagher for. The slightly increased fee is down to an appreciation that Gallagher has risen in value due to form. Yeah, it was a solid year last year. Atletico Madrid are Spurs' main rivals as it stands and have already made a bid. The La Liga club saw a verbal offer of £20 million plus bonuses rejected last month. They moved off of another player, which makes it an impact. Villa are not expected to pursue Gallagher due to the Onana signing. He is content to fight for his place at Chelsea and has been a model professional despite constant speculation over his future dating back to the summer of 2023. Poch even referred to him as priceless. So you have a bit of an idea there. This is going to be going on for a little while to come. Okay. So thoughts and feelings so far on that report. Gallagher with throwing up emojis. Fair enough, Juddy. No, Levy, we will be lucky to get if we got 2 more in, depending on who goes. Well, this is the thing. You've got Archie Gray. I think 3 first teamers are a minimum with Archie Gray. Minimum. 4 and Archie Gray, I think, is solid. You know. Let's be honest, at this point, 3 signings are starting to sound pretty good. Sadly. I love Kulu, but if selling him makes us 2 of get Eze, Chiesa, and Neto, I'd be content with our attacking options. But if we sell him and only get 1, we'd be a little too light. Well, they'd have to replace him. Yeah, they'd have to replace him. Chelsea are going to finish 10th. Mark my words. Ooh, big words from Alez there. Hello, my friend. How's everything? It's good, mate. How are you? You all right? My friend from Kazakhstan. It goes on to talk about Richarlison. And it said that Spurs also start in the market for a new striker, and this will become even more urgent of a priority should Richarlison depart. Saudi deal makers have already indicated they are prepared to pay close to £60 million. Al Ittihad and Al Qadsiya have both expressed an interest in the Brazilian international, and Spurs are now braced for offers. He talked about Son being a target for Saudi, but he's not. There's no chance he's leaving, so we can just kind of scoot by that one. Canada striker Jonathan David is one forward under consideration by Postecoglou. The Lille striker has entered the final year of his contract and is expected to be available around £25 million. Spurs have a long-standing interest in David, but could face competition from Chelsea, West Ham, and Newcastle United. Spurs are also tracking finals Santiago Jimenez, but suggestions they have already made a bid for Brentford Ivan Toney's or pursuing Bournemouth's Dominic Solanke have been denied at the present moment. So there's a lot there. I've got one more bit to talk about Højbjerg and Emerson before I talk about any more. Spurs still keeping tabs on Openda. Your thoughts? Well, I like Openda. I think he's a really, really exciting player. But I don't see him moving on from Leipzig this summer. I still think Dani Olmo would be the player to move on potentially. Selling Decky would be a big mistake to let him go unless it's for silly money, which Napoli won't pay. Well, yeah, he's not going for 25, 30 million. It would be 45, 50 million minimum. Yeah, as much as Conte is a big Kulu fan, I'm not sure Napoli are that big a Kulu fan for that kind of money. We've got to take 6 million for Richie. Well, this is the thing. If we got 60 million for Richie, like I get the idea of moving him on, right? I do get it. If we get 60 million, but then it's like, what are you going to do? Are you going to buy 2 strikers this summer? I don't see it. But if you were to buy 1 striker this summer, See how Richie does. Maybe Richie moves on the following summer, and then you get another striker the summer after. Maybe that's the way you go. You know, does Valise or a Scala or a Lancashire develop into what you want by that point? We'll see. But yeah, for me, if we're selling Richie, minimum 60 million. I mean, Moussa Diaby is, I think the deal's like 65 million pounds from Villa to Al Ittihad. We should be looking at something exactly the same, if not more. You know, Emerson Højbjerg. Tottenham are currently working on outgoings despite Troy Parrott joining AZ Alkmaar on a 5-year deal. Emerson Royals is still expected to leave, but AC Milan's interest has cooled after seeing the bid rejected. Spurs want double the €10 million bid and are not expected to offer a cut price deal, even though Emerson wants to move to Italy. Borussia Dortmund and Al Nassr are yet to bid, but both have the right back on their list of options. Newly promoted Saudi side Al Qadsiya are another club to watch. So we've got 2 Saudi clubs potentially of interest for Emerson, which is interesting. Spurs are planning for Pierre-Emile Højbjerg's exit. They're listening to offers for the Danish midfielder. Galatasaray are exploring a transfer. AC Milan also hold an interest. Atletico Madrid shot inside Højbjerg 12 months ago, but are more active on Gallagher at this stage. So here you go. If we would sign Gallagher, then I think Højbjerg goes to AC Milan. Atletico Madrid, sorry. Another potential departure is Sergio Reguilon, who's been discussed by Dortmund as a left-back option after last season's Champions League finals failed to sign Ian Maatsen. So I talked about that, didn't I? I said, could Dortmund come back in for Sergio Reguilon? You know? Already know how Richie does. Richie, Højbjerg, Skip Davies all need to go. Deadwood. I wouldn't say Richie's Deadwood. I'm finishing off with a little bit of Jed Spence move. So Jed Spence will still likely depart. Spurs hoping new suitors come to the table. Genoa, where Spence was on loan last season, have failed to agree a cut price with Spurs. The Serie A club had an option of £8.5 million option to buy, but offered under 4 million. So you see what I mean? When people are going, oh, you know, why Levy rates these players too highly, things like that. It's because they wanted to buy him for half his buy option, but they really like him. Well, you can't like him that much if you want to basically buy him for about £3.5 million. Spurs weren't going to be doing that. The modest fee presented was down to Spence's high wages. If Spurs agrees to take a pay cut, Genoa could return to the table. So there you go. Loads of stuff in that article from Ben, like a Richarlison or a Kulusevski, but it's unlikely. Enzo Fernandez may be getting a ban, so I doubt Chelsea will sell Gallagher. Well, they better get himself a new contract sorted, otherwise he's leaving for free next summer. Has anyone seen Benzema play last time? I haven't. Well, he's at Al Ittihad. No one watches the Saudi League. I don't get the Saudi League at all. What even is it? Is it just like an MLS, just on the other side of the world? Well, supposedly a team got promoted, so I don't think it is like an MLS. Because MLS, I don't think, has relegation or promotion or anything like that. Richie ain't good enough. Always injured. Will never get enough goals. Well, you know, I always like Richarlison as a striker option. As long as we've got another one and Sonny's out on the left, I'm happy with that as a striker option, to be honest. Not an issue for me. So yeah, plenty of good stuff. Obviously, join me on the second channel, sorry. Join me on this channel for 6:45, 6:50 this evening to watch the Hearts Spurs game. I'm looking forward to doing that watch along. To be the first on this channel, so be there for history. Looking to do some stuff on the second channel. I'm looking actually to buy a few PlayStation games and start recording some stuff for them, hopefully today. So the second channel, do subscribe if you haven't already. We're going to be doing some stuff on there this week. We'll probably bring out some more football content on there this week as well, just talking about other teams and moves and things like that are going to happen. But we shall see. Thank you everyone that has joined me for this video. I really do appreciate it. And I'll see you all in about 6 and a bit hours time to watch Hearts versus Spurs. Take care, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your days, and I'll see you all then. See you later.